YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today we got the Arizona Cardinals record prediction going game by game. Also going to give you best case and worst case scenarios like we're doing for every single team. Cardinals and 49ers. Then we're done with all the record prediction. There's a playlist on the channel full of every single team's record prediction video. Right around the corner, we got playoff predictions, Super Bowl predictions. You guys are kind of making your own predictions through our Twitter as well. Near future player rankings kind of moving forward, getting ready for the season. So really excited about this content coming up. Join us, like, subscribe, follow our Twitter. Very important to follow that Twitter link down below. It's also on your screen. But yeah, playoffpredictors.com is what we're using for all these videos. Arizona Cardinals, definitely an interesting team. Definitely an interesting team. They had some big name guys, mainly what stands out, J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, Chandler Jones coming back. That's big time. Ronnie Hudson, another big name guy at the center position. Right when they add guys like that, guys like a J.J. Watt, you get a little hype, rightfully so. You get pretty hyped. It's a big addition. We're all guilty of getting, well, maybe not guilty, but we were all getting hyped. I think I've cooled off a little bit. I don't want to get too hyped. It is an explosive team. They're pretty, they got some talented guys in some good spots, but you got to cool off a little bit, I think, and not get too deep into the hype, because they do have some spots, where there is some holes, but mainly I think a big issue was consistency last year, and actually it starts with Cliff Kingsbury. I think a good chunk of the fan base were actually calling for this guy's job, him to be fired, because the play calling was pretty bad in crucial moments. Will that change? That's a big question. I thought the running game was inconsistent. The offensive line protecting Kyler Murray was definitely inconsistent. Kyler Murray himself down the stretch pretty inconsistent in terms of his passing ability, not doubting his legs at all. And the receivers really getting separation, mainly getting separation over the middle of the field. So that is actually a big reason why I actually like that Rondale Moore pickup. That's a huge pickup for them. Actually, it may not look like that big of one, but I believe it is. Hopefully he can get going early on. So there are some questions still in terms of the offensive side of the ball. Defense, I like the pass rush a lot, but I guess stopping the run could be a little bit of a question, outside of J.J. Watt. And then I do feel it does, on paper, it looks like Budda Baker, who I'm a big fan of, is kind of carrying the secondary a bit. So there's some spots around their team where it's explosive, dynamic, talented athletes, but then there's some spots where it's like, they could get beat there a little bit. So it's definitely an interesting team. This offense has got to consistently produce, unlike last year. They really let us down at the end of last year. So I'll go game by game. My predictions, will circle back and do best case, worst case. It's a team I can see being a problem for. It's a tough team to predict here, but I'm a little worried about the run defense. It's kind of J.J. Watt who's plugging the inside, not particularly strong at the nose tackle or D tackle position. Inside linebackers, I like Simmons and Collins. I think there's some adjustments still to be made there for them to be that much of a factor. What a tough schedule. You got to start with Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook right off the bat. I think those. I actually had the Titans and the Vikings winning those games, because I think those running backs, those running games, are a big problem. But then you argue, if the Cardinals could only play the run, do they worry about the pass? But I do think the receivers of those teams, with the Cardinals secondary, again, it's Budda Baker, Malcolm Butler against Titans. Malcolm Butler had a big problem against Justin Jefferson last year. Not that that necessarily means it's gonna happen again, but that's where I worry about the Cardinals. Can they stop the run? I don't think so. Can they stop the downfield passing game? It doesn't really. They're relying on their pass rush a bit too much there. But I think the main reasons they lose these games is because anything could happen in week 1, 2, always random things happen. But that's, you're going against, in my opinion, the best two running backs in football, the best running games in football. The first 2 weeks, it's tough. The Jaguars even tough. I keep saying over and over again, the Jaguars are going to be a problem early in the year, because it's a tough game plan. A little easier in week 3 maybe than week 1 and 2. How do you game plan for this? They're going to run a variety of systems offensively. This game will be an absolute shootout. I'm very confident about it. The difference here, a little more veterans on the Cardinals. Offense to score more points, and I do think I trust their pass rush a little more with Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, etc. there. So I'm going to go Cardinals here. I got the Rams here. Rams are going to be a good ball club here, especially early in the year. Those should be some fun games, but I got the Rams. Pretty good game here. Niners, Cardinals. The tough part about playing the Niners this early is they're a pretty damn good team when they're healthy. You still have some questions at the quarterback position. I'm going to take the Cardinals at home. A bad draw for the Cardinals. You kind of wish that you play, you wish that the Niners were in place of the Seahawks games. You'd rather play the Niners. You want to get lucky and get the draws there. You want to play the Niners later because it's a team that's almost, it just sucks to say, but, people are expecting them to be hurt down the stretch of the season there. So it is tough to play. Long story short, I have them split in there. It could go that way, honestly. I think the Browns running game, and keep in mind that they can pass as well, and they have the secondary to stop the downfield ball from Kyler Murray. I think the Browns match up pretty damn well. Cardinals over Texans. I do think the Kyler Murray could be a problem for actually the Packers. I do like the Packers secondary, but I think him scrambling around could actually be a problem. But if I expect Aaron Rodgers to play, maybe I'm stubborn on that category, that situation. But in this scenario, Aaron Rodgers, I think primetime football here, I think he torches the Cardinals secondary, unfortunately. I think another one of those games where you look at the Cardinals defense, you're relying on the pass rush. You're relying on Chandler Jones, and they got it. They got Chandler Jones. They got J.J. Watt, Gardex, underrated guy. They got Golden as well. Simmons possibly can blitz. Zayvon Collins can blitz. They got it, but the Packers kind of prevent some of those teams. That's the argument, though, against Cardinals. They could be I can argue myself, they can be a pretty good blitzing team. It actually could be quietly in a game like this, not J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones. It could be the blitzing game of, I'd say, mainly Zayvon Collins, but Isaiah Simmons as well. That could be the difference. Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out so damn quick, though. In that secondary, again, it almost feels like it's Budda Baker carrying the load there. This is Jordan Love versus the Cardinals. I'm taking the Cardinals all day. I just wish the Cardinals were a little stronger in the secondary for games like this. Panthers Cardinals, another interesting one. You would think the Cardinals are probably a little better of a team. The Panthers, I like their roster. I just don't like their quarterback really in their offensive line, but interesting matchup. The Panthers gave an interesting matchup last year, and there's a reason for that, and there's a reason why it could still apply. The Cardinals are basically a college-style offense. There's not too many veteran coaches, defenses that really have the best matchup for them, but the Panthers are very much so like a college-style defense. They have a college-minded coach there, and they have a bunch of young players that are fresh out of there, so they're familiar with running against the spread offense. So that is actually the reason why the Panthers defense, this is probably one of their better matchups. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stop them, though, full-out stop them. I don't really think so. It's going to be about this one, which quarterback makes that extra play. In my opinion, I'm going to trust Kyler Murray over Sam Darnold, but that's a really good game that can go either way just because of the matchup. You can't really pay attention to which teams they are. It's just really about the matchup. Cardinals Seahawks. In this Seahawks video, I actually had the Cardinals winning this away game here against the Seattle Seahawks. That should be a fun series against those teams. Bye week, Cardinals Bears. This is one I'm really back and forth on. Actually, like the Panthers game, these aren't the biggest and baddest teams, the Panthers and the Bears. This is the matchup, really. Bears defense, I think in terms of matchup, I think it's pretty good against these, the Kyler Murray style offense, not letting him scramble around. They're pretty damn solid against it. They're not going to let him run for an insane amount of yards. They're going to just make him pass. That's where you can argue the Cardinals, though, because the Bears' secondary, their pass defense could actually be getting worse. No Kyle Fuller. Could Justin Fields be in the game? It's a toss-up. I just really like the way the Bears' defense matches up against. I think this is one of those games where the Cardinals' offense doesn't show up. We'll be able to get a more realistic, accurate prediction when we get to Week 13 on something like that. But obviously, but that's just my opinion there. I got the Cardinals get one on the Rams. Rams are gonna be a real tough team Monday night in Arizona. I think this ends up being a shootout. Rams very good defense, but I think the Cardinals offense gets going at least one time against them, maybe both times, even though they can lose another one. The other one there. Lions actually gave the Cardinals some problems last year too, but I don't know, you got to go Cardinals here. Crunch time. Colts Cardinals. Colts pretty balanced team. I like the matchup for the Cardinals, though. I do like the matchup because I think against this defense, they're going to run some cover too. I think Kyler Murray could get fooled on those disguises. Sometimes some of the disguise, trap coverages come with cover two a bit. They make you think it's man coverage or vice versa. And the Colts are pretty good at that. So, and then Kyler Murray did throw some interceptions on those situations. But I think what beats the Colts defense is getting outside the pocket, throwing on the run down the sideline. I think Kyler Murray's pretty damn good at that. I also think he can escape a little bit in this game. And I mean, Carson Wentz could get going. This actually could be a higher scoring than you would think. This actually could be a close to a shootout game. Speaking of shootout game, Cardinals Cowboys. I definitely have a shootout in that one. It's really going to depend on health. You look at a couple of offense guys for the Cowboys. I mean, you look on defense, J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones for the Cardinals. So same thing, just opposite sides of the ball. In a shootout in Dallas, I like the Cowboys Saturday game. And I had the Seahawks-Cardinals split, and I actually had them getting away game. So 8-9 for the Cardinals. You know, before doing these game-by-game predictions, I probably would have viewed them as a 9-9-10. They're probably in the 8-9-10 win range. I had them in that 8-9. It's a tough schedule. I think big if they start one of these games with a win, Titans or Vikings, that's extremely tough to play those high power. I mean, the best running offenses. You're going to throw in the Browns and the Ravens in that conversation, but it's extremely tough. I do worry about them inside runs. So that's a tough part there. There was 2 games that I was really, really on the fence about, and that was surprisingly Panthers and the Bears game. I had them splitting, so it's not like I had them losing 2. So, but back to best case scenario. Trying to think against the Titans. I really like the Titans and the Vikings, the way they match up against them. Week 1, again, anything could happen. I just really like the way those teams match up against. It's tough against the Jags as well. They could get the Packers. I was kind of almost talking myself into that because the Packers' offense line is very good, but they actually struggle with really good blitzing teams. But if that blitz comes along with the edge rush, in the Cardinals' sake, it actually does. They could be a sneaky. They blitzed a bit last year. I think they could be a better blitz team than they were last year. They actually, I'm starting to remember that here as I'm talking. That actually could be a pretty good matchup for the Cardinals. I just worry about Aaron Rodgers torching that secondary. I did have them beat the Panthers. An interesting game there. Again, the Seattle games, I think they're going to split. It could go either way. They could beat the Bears. That fan base, you would have to think we're better than the Bears, right? You got to believe that. Justin Fields could be in. He could have some problems for them down the field, perhaps. Again, I think this team's kind of firm in the 8-9-10 range here. Kind of going back. Worst case, I don't see them starting 0-3, but the Jags could be tough early on. Worst case where they play, I don't think they'll lose twice to the Niners. I think it could be split. I think switch like that. Worst case though, we're gonna go with again the Panthers. They actually have that defense to play with the Cardinals. They had J.C. Horn in the mix. Hassan Reddick revenge game in a way. Not that he needs revenge against the Cardinals, but that's an interesting matchup there. I don't think they'll lose to Seattle twice. I really don't. Could be like that. Like I said, I like the matchup against the Colts. Okay, so I guess they could lose to the Rams twice. 6-11 worst case. I don't see it happening. I'd say the official range for me is really 8-9-10. We can tack on one more on each side, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But 8, 9, 10 is where I'm at. Kind of going back to my actual predictions. I had away teams winning in that game, those games there. 8-9, that's tough. But it just goes to the consistency questions, mainly of the offense. I'm not really putting the offensive line was inconsistent. Kyler Murray was inconsistent. The running game, the receivers getting separation. I'm not like super negative with that. I'm not on the negative side of thinking on how they'll be with those. Kingsbury's play calling. I don't think I got on him as much as the fans did last year. But either way, it was kind of a problem. Is that going to continue? Will that change? So. And just getting hot and cold on offense, just having those games where they kind of just stop themselves with they're 3 and outs. I think play calling went along with that. Kyler Murray definitely needs to take that next step. He needs to improve. He cannot stay the same. He needs to improve. And I've seen it both ways. Very good, young, talented quarterbacks surprisingly stay the same or surprisingly take that huge jump, that next step. So it's kind of just up in the air. You got to go off gut feeling on that. There's really no I think we all expect him to take a step up. But just time will tell here. In defense, about staying healthy, I don't think they're going to be On paper, it looks like below average stopping the run and definitely below average against the pass, even though I do really like Budda Baker. Byron Murphy's solid. He plays in the slot a bit. So that it's an interesting team because they got some, I'd say star power, and they're pretty similar to Seattle. They got star power in these spots, scattered in, like, they're splotchy, in these spots, and then splotchy in a bad way as well. So again, it's about consistency with this team. I did not like it last year where they were with that in that category, and that was the reason they didn't make the playoffs. They felt like, we're at that little bit past the halfway point, and I was talking about this team being a sneaky playoff run team. They're not gonna make the playoffs. They might beat some teams, and all of a sudden that just collapsed, So where will they be at? Something you kind of question is because this was a tough game plan team to come in. It's a college style offense. They're so fast, so explosive, but more tape comes out, more reps you get against them, the easier it becomes. We've seen that time and time again from teams. Could that be the case? And that could make Kyler Murray's job harder stepping up. I'm not saying this will happen. It's just things to keep in mind to back your head. That's why it's a very interesting team here. That's going to do it for the Cardinals record prediction, though. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. One more of these, then we got the full 32-team record predictions out, and then we got playoff predictions, Super Bowl predictions, player rankings right around the corner here. So join us, like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. Very, very important. Any link you're looking for down in the description comments. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.